Obi-Wan Kenobi is back. What was he up to since the events of episode 3? What has he going before episode 4? Will we meet other characters we know from the franchise, or will this be a separate standalone story? Hi there, it's Micha. If you had similar questions on your mind, come in and join me, will you? "10 years have passed since we last saw Obi-Wan. While the Empire sends out so-called Inquisitors to chase down and kill each and every Jedi still alive, he settled down on Tatooine, pretty much on the path of becoming the hermit we meet in A New Hope.
The fight is done. We lost. Stay hidden.
He hasn't used the Force in years, so not to draw attention. When one of the Inquisitors, a woman named Rejwan, who seems only to be interested in finding Kenobi, discovers a connection between him and Bail Organa, Leia's adoptive father, she has the kid nabbed. Pun intended. Hoping Bail would ask his friend Obi-Wan for help to get her back, exactly that happened. Resisting his call at first, Obi-Wan takes on the mission to rescue Leia and bring her home. I was quite skeptical going into this one, as I didn't know what the plot would be, and I thought, do we really need a standalone adventure of the semi-retired Jedi? What could happen? Will the story only follow him? Or new characters? Will this be enough? The first few episodes surprised me in a positive way, as we followed a familiar character, Leia, which was quite the obvious choice as she apparently knew Kenobi from before, sending out the droids to deliver her distress call and request for help in A New Hope. We also saw a bit of Luke and his family, which for all intents and purposes made this show more episode 3.5, rather centered around the Skywalkers again, than a Kenobi-centric property. And as Vader also played a role, this sentiment deepened. Some new and likable characters were introduced. The production values were high as expected from a Star Wars show on Disney+. The acting was solid, though McGregor's accent still sounds forced and fake to me, but it is now canon. And Dave Filoni was involved. Or so I thought. So what could go wrong? Well, unfortunately Filoni had nothing to do with this. Oh, thank God in retrospect. Because if he would have supervised this, it would have made me lose faith in all upcoming Star Wars projects. This one was handled by Kathleen Kennedy though. There were some plot inconsistencies early on, which I could ignore, but starting at the end of part 3, the show just lost me. There was so much stupidity in the storyline that couldn't be talked away, and I can even pinpoint the exact moment when it jumped the shark. But that, and more details, I will share in the spoiler zone at the end of this video. From convenient circumstances, including a literal Deus Ex Machina moment, to cartoonish nonsense, the second half of the series does not only appear to be catered more to an infant audience, it felt as if a kid had written the scripts, and I am not talking about an apt pupil. Let's return to the word cartoonish. Some scenes really look as if they were conceived for an animated show, like Inspector Gadget, and I will share details later, but in a nutshell, after promising a lot in the first half, the second half not only fell short, but flat on its face. Unfortunately, a problem other Disney Plus shows share recently. Hopefully these are one-offs and not a continuous trend. And poor Hayden Christensen. It was so heavily promoted that he is back, and he was all excited, trained a lot, and then you read he only was needed for scenes where Vader's helmet was off, which was 2 or 3 scenes plus a flashback where both him and McGregor were so unconvincingly de-aged you wouldn't believe it. And yet they kept the crow's feet around his eyes. Didn't they bring someone on to Lucasfilms after Luke looked so bad in The Mandalorian, so that this doesn't happen anymore? Not even his voice was needed, as they had James Earl Jones, which was cool, but all added up must have felt like a slap to Hayden's face.
What have you become?
I am what you made me, Obi-Wan.
Of course, there were also no real stakes in this story either, as we know Kenobi and Vader, as well as Luke and Leia, will not be seriously harmed in any way, as is the curse of a prequel. Though this show technically was a midquel, or whatever you will call something that is later shoehorned between 2 movies. And they didn't bother to create a story for the finale in which a character we care about, but don't know how their future turns out, get into legitimate danger. So let's summarize. Visually and recording technical merits, the show stood out as we would have expected. Acting was mostly great, with a tiny but general tendency to overacting across the board. Newly introduced characters were interesting but underused, like Flea's appearance, or brought back only as a story device like Kumail Nanjiani's role as the fake Jedi, which even though was one of the positive standouts in this series. With a screenplay full of plot holes and no real stakes, we are left with a, at times, laughable story which, again, could have been great, but fell through due to sloppy writing. It hurts me to say it, but I rate the series with 5 out of 10 points, with the caveat that the first 2 episodes likely had scored around 7 or 8 points, while the third would have received 5 points and the rest even lower than this. For a regular show that might have been okay, but for a Star Wars show, this score makes me sad. Now if you don't want to get spoiled, but enjoyed this video so far, please like it now before you leave, and if you are no subscriber yet, maybe consider to change that. If you don't mind spoilers or have already watched the show, please follow me into the spoiler zone. There was so much that went wrong here. As mentioned, it started at the end of part 3, where Reva, the Inquisitor, starts to pursue Leia, who walks through a long but narrow pathway towards a pilot that is supposed to save her. With no explanation at all, Reva already waits at the destination, already having killed the pilot, without passing by Leia or another explanation why she found the pilot and reached him before Leia could. And there is the Inspector Gadget scene, where Obi-Wan smuggled Leia out of an Imperial headquarters by having her hid under his trench coat, Scooby-Doo style, followed by the good guys being saved at the exact moment they are about to die by allies in spaceships. Deus ex machina, how convenient. Before that, Kenobi enters the compound to save Leia by diving in, no security needed there, and overpowers a single stormtrooper. But he is not taking their uniform to walk the station undercover. No. But he also didn't need to, as this part of a place is almost completely deserted. Again, very convenient. And later, after helping him several times, his new ally Talai Dorith has to sacrifice herself to buy him and other escapees a little bit of time, just for Kenobi to turn himself in just a few seconds after her death, which if he would have done before would have saved her life and now rendered her heroic deed meaningless. Then you have a reveal pretty much everyone already expected, that Reva is a Jedi that survived Order 66 as a child. Her agenda was to find Kenobi to get close to Vader and kill him. Fine, but she had the chance several times before to kill Vader, when she was close to him. And why would she so eagerly kill Jedis herself if she hates him for the same reason? Just stupid. And after she fails, she survives being stabbed with a lightsaber, previously something definitely deadly, and even appears to be quite fit soon after. Her new plan? Kill Luke, as she found out he is Vader's son. Why does she think that would hurt Vader, who doesn't even know who Luke is yet? And after hunting the kid a while, she of course can't go through with it, while Vader fights Kenobi. Those are the 2 big finale events, both as mentioned before with 0 stakes. As we know, no one of them can die. But there is not even a real explanation why Kenobi lets Vader live, other than that he is needed in episode 4 through 6. Again, lazy and sloppy writing. The plot is full of things like this, and I could list a dozen plot points more, but you get the gist. Just one last thing, the worst of the bunch, Reva finds out about Luke because there is a communication sent by Leia's father to Obi-Wan, even though they agreed to have no contact. Firstly, the message mentions the name of the kid, the planet Tatooine, and the relation to Vader, even though Kenobi knows these facts himself, and mentioning these in a recording is then the dumbest thing one can do. The message then isn't destroyed, but for no reason handed over by Kenobi to our friend, the fake Jedi, who stumbles and only loses this one item exactly where Reva is later stabbed, so she can find it when she comes to. This is not just lazy, that is offensive and completely ruined the whole thing for me. How was it for you? Did the stuff I mentioned bother you, or could you still enjoy the series? Was it a worthy addition to the franchise for you? Let me know in the comments. So much for now, see you next time and thanks for watching!